Hey, what's your shapers, and welcome back to my channel. And in today's video, we will share with you 5 tips on how to save on aquarium products. The very first tip on saving money is actually on the type of lights you use. Like for example, on this aquarium over here, this stream tank, we use a T5 LED light, which comes in 6500 kelvins, which is daylight, and only utilize 16 watts of power. However, I do have another setup which is at my place, where I use Chihiro's light, and that uses a lot of electricity, and of course the price and the cost of T5 versus a Chihiro's is a lot. Like for example, this T5 light over here, it is a 4-feet light, and it is fairly inexpensive. It's about $8 just to purchase this, and however versus a Chihiro's, it will probably cost you around 30-40, now even I think $50 for 2 feet. So for example, if you're going for 4 feet, it can easily cost you $120-140, which is significantly higher in terms of your cost, your outlay in terms of when you start a stream tank. So stream tanks do not really need a lot of very strong light because we are actually not growing plants. For example, over here we do have streams, we have some mosses, we have some mosses. And we do have some other plants as well, like we do have like Echinodorus plants, and we have the Madagascar lace plant. But in general, I use a lot of Echinodorus plants and Madagascar lace plants because they are rosette. They don't grow a lot of, they don't grow messy in the tank, and they don't outgrow the tank as well. So in that sense, we don't really need a lot of strong light. And that's the reason why we have been using this very cost-efficient light across all this. For example, if you want to scale up, I think that is one of the cost saving that you can have, is to use a T5 light. It is sufficient for breeding streams. You can see there's a lot of streams here. You can actually see that streams are doing well regardless of what kind of light you actually use. However, if you want to have better plants, then definitely you can use a T5, not a T5, planter tank light, which has high intensity and things like that. So the second tip is actually about chemicals. I would not recommend any chemicals in the tank. The reason is because, like for example, if you use no planaria in the tank, at some point of time, no planaria, the chemicals in it, you will have to keep adding and adding and adding until a point where the planaria actually die. But the planaria can get used to that chemical, which then you have to keep dosing and dosing and dosing. They actually get immune to it. So chemicals like medicines, medication, no planaria, pH up, pH down, please do not use them, because they do not deliver anything beneficial value or anything. If you want to remove planaria, the best part is actually to use vinegar to wash your plants, or citric acid to wash your plants or equipment. Usually plants, which they come, because of planaria, they come usually with plants. You can dip your plants in vinegar and then put them in the tank. But then you will ask, can the plant actually survive a vinegar or citric acid dip? Actually, they can actually survive a vinegar dip, because vinegars is, although they are very strong in that sense, but for planaria, when they come into contact with vinegar, they do not survive. So once it contacts with the planaria will die. So that's the second part. Second tip of money saving. So you do not need to spend a lot of money in terms of all the chemicals. So you want to keep everything as simple as possible. That's always my goal, and to keep them as simple as possible. So we are just doing some experiment here. And then the very third thing is, I know this is going to get me blasted, because I'm so far the only one that keeps saying that you do not actually need to put beneficial bacteria every time you do a water change. Like Quick Start and all those products, I do not use them. Whenever I do a cycling of tank, when I do a cycling of tank, I just let it cycle by itself. Like for example, this one, I let it cycle by itself. I use just the ammonia from the soil, and then they will then start to cycle. For fish tanks, you can actually use like, you can put a few fish and then you can start cycling. Like, you know, you can put some few fish and then you can start cycling. I have 2 fish tanks here. And then you don't really need, because in the stream industry, a lot of people is saying that you have to add beneficial bacteria, powder beneficial bacteria after you do a water change. But beneficial bacteria do not colonize the water column. They do not. So there is really no point in adding beneficial bacteria after the water change, because when you are doing a water change, there is no beneficial bacteria that comes out of the tank. All the beneficial bacteria is on the surface of the tank, surface of the media, the porosity, the filter media, the sponges, you know, the wall and the soil. That is where the beneficial bacteria actually, you know, that's where they live. And if you keep adding and adding more and more powder, it's actually simply adding nothing but ammonia into the tank, which definitely, of course, it feeds the beneficial bacteria, but it does not help to multiply any faster or any better, because the soil surface, let's say for example after 3 months, 4 months, it has been saturated. That is so much that the beneficial bacteria can colonize in the tank. So I do not recommend any beneficial bacteria adding after, and all those powders, you know, they are not required. To me, they are just not necessary, and you can save a lot of money to actually not buy those products, because green wall, which is the so-called holy grail of stream keeping, which actually has no meaning in that sense, because green wall does not mean that your tank water quality is good or bad. Green wall is also not an indication that the stream tank is very healthy. It has no correlation. Like for example over here, I do have some slight green wall over here, just some very slight ones over here, and this one has no green wall. And look at the stream, look at the number of streams over here, and look at the number of streams over here. You know, it does not mean that a green wall is a good tank. Look at this. This has slightly brown algae over here, but it is also, there's a lot of streams over here. There's a lot of streams over here. There's also a lot of streams over here. So it's no correlation that, you know, a tank, like for example, over here we have the red devil. The wall is absolutely clean, end to end, absolutely clean. So beneficial bacteria, adding them back into the water column after water change is not necessary. It is not needed. So that is the third thing. If you can actually, you know, you can save a lot of money if you do not buy any powder bacteria. And the fourth thing that I would say that in terms of cost saving, in terms of saving money, is that you do not need to buy like any of these decorations. And so all these decorations were given by my friend. There's no need to purchase any of this decoration to say that, oh, they need hiding space and things like that. If you want to use something to add more hiding space, is number one, you can actually use a flower pot. You can actually use more plants. You don't really need to buy like special like caves and any of these things to get them into that, you know, help to protect them. So you can actually use like mosses, you can use like natural things, you can use pots, because over here you can again see this. This is a very good example. This is also a very good example. I do not have any caves in here. I do not have any caves in here as well. So there is really no need for you guys to actually purchase all this. So personally, I do not want to purchase all of this. The reason is because it adds to my cost, to the running cost of it. So there's really no requirement to actually add all of those decoration. I'm sure if you want to do it, you can, but if you are on a very tight budget, you do not need or you do not require any of those. Like for example, you can see here there are lots of streams. There's a lot of streams over here. There is no requirement to actually add any of this hiding space, caves and everything. However, if let's say the cave, like for example, there's one that has a lot of holes where you can actually plant some of the mosses. I think that is a great dual thing. It means that it can help anchor the mosses or the plants, and then also add a hiding space for them. I think when you have such products, I think it is fine. But however, again, like I said, a lot of these, tanks over here, we do not have hiding space or anything. And the very last cost saving or money saving tip is actually use a sponge filter. If you can, use a sponge filter, because a sponge filter literally is very inexpensive and they can run for a long time and they are not expensive to actually operate. And the reason for that is because you can have one whole rack of stream tanks, and all driven by a single pump over here. You can just use like a single pump, and you can run a lot of tanks and a lot of streams. So there is really no need to be very fancy and purchase a lot of other products like hang-on filter or even canister filter. I mean, personally, I have two setups. Like I've mentioned, I have two setups. One setup, I've used total filters for all my aquarium tanks, stream tanks at home, and they work well. And if you ask me, do they do any better? I think personally, other than additional mechanical filtration on a hang-on bag, I think they can polish a little bit better in terms of the water clarity, because you can actually add a lot of filter floss into the hang-on bag, and of course you can add a lot of medias. And in terms of cycling, definitely there will be a shorter period of time because the medias actually hold a lot more beneficial bacteria compared to just a sponge. And so yes, these are the 5 tips that I would like to share that can actually help you save a lot of money in terms of your stream breeding journey. And because I have both the setup, and I actually can tell you guys that in terms of cost saving, you can actually save a lot of money from that aspect. So thank you guys for watching, and peace out.